So guys, let's go ahead and begin tonight. Obviously, we've got more than enough to do, and it's going to take us a while to get through things. This is going to be a somewhat unusual evening for us, hopefully. First, I don't know if we're going to end up having 1 or 2 weeks of this, or if we're going to have an entire block of this. But to be perfectly candid with you, if I had to guess, I would tell you that we're likely going to be this way for the entire block. I'd be surprised if the college reopens to live instruction before the end of the semester. I don't know if any of you have a better sense of this than I do, but that's kind of my feeling at the moment, given people I'm speaking to, not so much at our school, but at the University of Utah and other colleges across the country, and just kind of testing the waters, if you will, and getting a sense of what's going on out there. What I want to do tonight, as you would expect, is I want to walk through and make sure that you understand the structure of the course, and want to make sure that you understand where your resources are. We'll walk through the syllabus a little bit. We'll walk through Canvas a little bit, but then we're gonna jump into dealing with some actual course material tonight. You should know that on Canvas, I will post this video that is happening as we're recording this session tonight on Canvas tomorrow. So if there's anything you don't catch, some things that don't quite connect, then you'll be able to pick them up tomorrow or after by going to the video on Canvas. And I'll connect that in the module section of Canvas. So let's start by going to just a brief introduction of the course. And I want to start this. I'm going to unmute everyone, and I want some candid input from you. And that input is in response to the question, what have you heard about this class?
Do you want me to do the class from yesterday?
I'm sorry, who is that?
I can tell you.
So you're not all speaking at once, largely because, well, most of you aren't speaking. So what have you heard about this class?
Fair amount of work.
Jason, I think you were trying to speak, but I couldn't hear you.
Oh, a fair amount of work as far as the workload.
It will be more than a little bit of work. I don't know if you're able to hear Jason well, but Jason, I couldn't hear you well. You're either going to want to come closer to your microphone or get a headset on or something like that. By the way, we're probably going to struggle with these kinds of issues more than once or twice here in the next few weeks. Casey, what have you heard about the class?
Yeah, something similar to Jason, that there's a lot of work involved, and that very finance intensive, and so you want to brush up your familiarity on your typical balance sheet skills and income statement skills, so that you can make sure you have your head wrapped around your basic finance concepts to kind of do well.
Okay, I think that's fair. What about you, Salma?
I heard about it's again a finance class, and I heard about you more than the class that you are.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that.
Very serious, but also very funny at the same time. So I don't know how it's like. So even not just the students, but also professors were suggesting me to take this class because there is a lot of learning about the finance as well as the other stuff here.
Okay, well, that's fair. This is a hard class. I'm going to tell you right now, and I make no apologies for it, largely because I think you're going to be the beneficiaries of it being challenging. From my perspective, of all of the classes in the MBA program that you're in, Elise Mortenson's class on managing processes and this class on executive financial decision making are the two that are the most like a regular master's program class. And that's not to say that we don't have a strong program. It's to say that an MBA program generally isn't as rigorous as a regular master's program. And it's not that Elise and I are trying to make this harder on you than is necessary. It's that we're both trying to see to it you come out of it with some great skills. Now, you may disagree with that, or you may wish we'd looked at it differently here within the next few weeks. But for now, that's what we're looking at. Well, you're each going to have some of your own thoughts about this. I'm fortunate to know about half of you, maybe a little bit more than half of you, at least somewhat well. The rest of you, we're going to get to know each other in the coming weeks. Part of that will come through this kind of a venue. Part of it will come through other communication tools that we're using. But part of it's probably going to come through tools that we're not using yet, only because we don't realize we should be, given the change we've had to make in our format here. So with that, let's go ahead, and I'm going to change the screen so that we can all see the syllabus. And I'm going to walk through part of the syllabus, and as I do so, I'll introduce more of the course. And I'm going to then transition us over to Canvas when the time comes. And I'm hoping that everyone is still going to be able. Everybody's still going to be able to make comments and unmute yourselves as needed and engage in a discussion. I believe I sent the syllabus out to you sometime over the last several business days, maybe even over the weekend. And as we go through this, a lot of this is boilerplate. And by that I mean we have the basic federal disclosures in here, of course. We have things about the text and materials, which you may have already gathered there is no text. But I do tell you here that I've patterned an awful lot of what we're going to talk about from a book titled Valuation that was written by McKinsey and Company. You don't need to buy it. It's not one that we're going to provide for you. I've posted a number of relevant sections for you in Canvas, but you'll find this available largely online in lots of different ways. You're also going to need to use a financial time value calculator. And if you don't have one, I want you to send me an email telling me that you don't have one and you need one. I'll make sure that there's one available to you. And the one that I would like you to use is the HP 10B. It's the one we use as a standard in the Gore School of Business. If you've had MBA 603 already from either Matt Krause or Rob Patterson, I'm hoping you got one of these calculators. We will use it intensively. I will teach you a little bit about how to use it, but more than anything else, I'll point you to resources that will help you better understand how to use it. The reason I would prefer that you use this calculator rather than a TI or something else is because I can support the functions of this calculator. I can help you understand it where I don't know the others well enough to feel comfortable helping you understand their higher functions. So I hope that makes sense. Also, as we go down to course communication, most of you have already realized that I heavily use something referred to as WhatsApp. And WhatsApp is a communication tool that's really just a very robust version of a texting tool. In fact, I think you can see WhatsApp on your screens at the moment. Can you see that, Casey? Good. So WhatsApp, as I said, is just a very robust texting tool. The way that we use it in this class is to make sure that everyone knows about any changes that have taken place in schedule or assignments, which may be a fair amount given the disruptions that we've been dealing with, and a place for you to be able to ask questions and see the answers. And it's altogether possible that I'll be the one answering those questions. In fact, I'd say more often than not, I'll be the one answering those questions. But I'd also say that if Casey here at 2 o'clock in the morning, when he's up feeding the new baby that's probably going to come sometime during our class here, if he's up doing that feeding and he's got a question, he may ask it and nobody, including me, is around to answer. He may not have to ask it. All he may have to do is look back a couple of sessions within WhatsApp and see that Salman already asked it and I answered it. Or maybe I haven't done that. Maybe Salman's also up because he's been playing video games or whatever it is he likes to do at 2 o'clock in the morning. Salman, hopefully that's sleep, man. I'm here to tell you. But he may see the question, and even before I get a chance to answer it, he may have answered it for all of us. So I would encourage you to use this all the time. If you're not already signed into this thing, get signed in. I can see who's in here, and I won't go through the whole list at the moment, but if you're not into this, you're going to miss out on far too much of the course. And I'll tell you that it's very challenging to pass this course without everybody's help. You're going to need engagement from me. You're going to need your own wits about you. You're going to need to prepare, but you're also going to want to make sure that your classmates are helping you, and you're going to want to help them. In part because the metrics that we're going to use are voluminous. Now, I give them to you on some quick sheets, and I go through everything, but there's a lot of detail to these things. And it's very easy to, when you're working out a given equation or a given case problem, it's easy to forget one little detail. And when you've forgotten that detail, your outcome is all screwed up. But if you and Solomon and Kang and Stevie are all working together, then and Stevie isn't able to figure out the answer to something, Kang probably already knows it and said, "Oh, Stevie, you're forgetting to add depreciation," and all of a sudden the problem is solved. This is why in my syllabus and other online materials, I've suggested that you work in study groups. But given the coronavirus scenario, the situation that we're dealing with right now, I'm not sure that you're going to work in study groups. In fact, my guess is you're not going to work in live study groups for a while. You may choose virtual study groups. And if you do, I think that's great. It'll help you a tremendous amount. Anyway, here is WhatsApp. Some of you have used it before in our classes, in class I've had with you. Some of you have used it in other classes. But make sure you're paying attention to this. I go through and give you some information about the course objective here. Let me just put this in simpler terms beyond those that I can put in the overview and the objective of the syllabus. I'm trying in this class to teach you the metrics behind making reasonable executive decisions, period. I'm going to do so from the lens of asset valuation modeling. And at first, you might even suppose this is just another finance class, or it's heavily a valuation class, and finance and valuation are inextricably connected. But you're going to realize at some point that the metrics of valuation are also the metrics of evaluation, and will help you identify whether a project or some capital investment in your company or whatever company you're working with or whatever group of a company you're working with, if they're worth investing in. It may be, it may not be, or if an investment has been made and you're not making the grade with it, you're not getting the outcome you need to, some of what you might need to do in order to change the outcome. That sounds very simple. Work harder, work smarter. Those are the things that people say for the most part. But when we get into the work smarter, sometimes the work smarter is simply being able to capture and utilize the types of finance metrics available to us, and those are all housed within valuation modeling. So at times, this course is going to seem like a valuation course. I promise you it's not. I'll try to continue to go back periodically to help you remember that it's not, and to use examples that are not simply valuation examples, but largely we will use as examples those numbers, those cases, those metrics, because they expose or reveal the virtue in some of the decisions we're going to make from within the company. As we go through here, you can see the evaluation process. Participation is 10% of our score. And I've thought about changing this given the current distribution or delivery method in this, but I'm not going to, even if we do end up going all 7 weeks of the block in this format, because I want to make sure that you are participating, not only being present in our live webcasts, but also that you're being participative in WhatsApp, that you're actively reaching out to me, getting input from me, looking for help if necessary. I just want to make sure that you're on top of things, and that only happens in this class when you're actively engaged. Some of you are probably sitting there saying, oh, the last thing in the world I like to do is ask questions in a class or get involved in the discussion. I'd rather just get the material and finish it on my own. And I get that. I'm kind of that way myself sometimes, but this isn't just about me, and it isn't just about you. It's about all of us, and we're going to get through this. We're going to get through it very well together, and it's going to take all of us to do that. That sounds a little bit like holding hands around the campfire and singing Kumbaya, and I'm sorry about that, but it is the way it is. You're going to see there's a series of Excel assignments. So I'll introduce you to the first of those tonight, and it's going to be due next week. I think there are 5 of them, if I recall. Those are 20% of your grade. There's a series of homework assignments that are in Canvas, and I'll introduce you to those tonight. And each of the homework assignments is graded. They are highly detailed, and there's a set of practice homework assignments that you can participate in advance of them, where the same questions are asked, but maybe from a different perspective. So you're going to want to participate in those practice homeworks, and you're going to have to participate in the homework assignments. It's a quarter of your grade. You're welcome to do these together. You're welcome to do them in study groups, whether that's in-person study groups or virtual study groups, or you're welcome to do them on your own. But you're going to want to make sure that you understand the metrics behind the solutions you're getting. So if Ryan is the one that's leading the group and understanding everything and giving everybody the answers, and I'm sitting there, just kind of trying to keep up, and it comes time for something else that's scored, you're going to have a hard time, or I'm going to have a hard time. Don't do that to yourself. There's also a series of problem sets. And in some of the material, you're going to see these referred to as in-class problem sets. That's a misnomer at best. We will sometimes begin these in class, but we will likely only reference them in class, and then you will work on them throughout the week. Unlike the homework assignments, the problem sets, yes, are graded in that it's 20% of the grade as to whether or not you work on them, but you're going to find when we look at Canvas that not only the problems are there, and they're there in MS-DOS or MS Docs, MS Word files, but the solutions to them are there as well in a separate PDF. So there's no excuse for not getting the right answers, because you've got the questions and the answers. Here's the danger. You can go ahead and very easily just copy the answers from the solutions into the problem sets, and you can submit the document as your submission of the problem set. And I won't know the difference until we get towards the end of the term and we're doing an assessment, and all of a sudden I'm going to know exactly who's been doing them completely, who's been doing them on their own, who's been following them well, and who's been fooling themselves. You guys are way too smart. You've paid way too much money, and you're going to commit way too much time to waste it that way. So these are going to be here for you as a support and a help, not a crutch. And don't let it be the rope that you can hang yourself with. Finally, there's going to be a project at the end of this, and we'll look at the details of that before we're done tonight. It is a valuation project, but it's going to be a project specific to something that you choose from within your company or your experience set. It's not going to be something I assign to you in the detail, but you'll use the metrics, the models, the rationale that we've been developing over the weeks together in addressing this problem, in dealing with this issue, in finding solutions to the question that you're going to be posing within this project. So I've referenced homework assignments. I've referenced then the problems and Excel assignments. I've referenced core projects. There's a whole list of things you can expect from me here. Some of you know me pretty well. You know that I will answer your WhatsApp posts. I will answer your texts. I will answer your emails. If you need me to, I will spend time with you in my office, whether that's a virtual office or a live office on campus. I'm going to ask that you respect all of those, and that you actively engage and actively participate in all those communication mechanisms. Here we've got a whole list of your rights under federal law. You already know those probably. You see them in every one of the syllabi that you've looked at. And then there's a schedule. And you can see that starting tonight, we've got an introduction, which is what we're going through now. And then I'm going to start to talk about why we value the value proposition or the value equations. we're going to talk about how firms value assets, going from book values to market values. We'll look a little bit at the firm's capital structure as we look at enterprise value, and then we'll look at some fundamental principles and some notions of cash flow, and then I'll make sure that you see the different assignments. Any questions about any of that yet?
Rick, hopefully my mic's a little bit better, but the project is individual based, right? Not a group project.
Yes, Jason, and yeah, your mic is better. I hear you perfectly. Jason, it is individual. I am fine with you working on them together, but I'm expecting each person, which I think is representative of a different employer, to have a different project. So they're individual projects, and if you guys want to help each other through them, doesn't bother me in the least. In fact, again, there's very little in this that I'm not going to heavily encourage you to work with other people on.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to turn our attention here to Canvas. At least I'm going to try. Casey, nod your head if you can see Canvas, please. Okay, thank you. So you're going to see I've got Canvas organized in modules by week. So we're looking at week 1. We're going to scroll down. We can see week 2, week 3, and so on. Okay. I'm going to give you an assignment right now that'll help us with week 3. Some of you are already very well versed in time value of money and understand how to do time value of money equations manually, know how to do them in Excel, and or know how to do them in your financial calculators. And some of you don't know what time value of money means, and we've got everything in between there. So I have put together a series of 7 or 8 minute videos for you, ranging from the very earliest construction of time value of money all the way through using time value of money to find internal rate of return, net present value. And scattered through these, I'm looking at how we use these equations manually. So I'm looking at the algebra, and I'm looking at how we use the time value functions in the HP calculator. Now, for those of you that have a Texas Instruments calculator, I think it's a Texas Instruments 83, it's very similar to the HP 10, but once again, it's only similar. It's not exactly the same. And I'll coach you through the HP, but I won't be able to coach you through any of the others. So again, if you haven't already let me know, a few of you have by emails, we've been talking. If you haven't already let me know that you need an HP, then let me know and I'll make sure that you get one from the program. So you'll see I've got it organized by weeks, of course. You'll also see that I've got it organized by assignment. So we have the Excel assignments. Again, we'll look at the first of those tonight. We got the problem sets. We'll look at the first of those tonight. We look at practice homeworks, the homeworks themselves, including a video and a short quiz. And the video is recorded by a guy named Aswath Damodaran. And then a little bit more here, including more material on your project. You're going to find that virtually everything is already in here for you with Canvas. I went ahead and recorded videos for this class in a prior semester. I'm looking to see if they're uploaded here now. Bear with me just a moment. I have sworn they were. Oh, and I didn't add them when I put Canvas together. I didn't add them because I knew we were going to be doing these, and I'm putting together a new video series for us. So that's why we don't see them already linked into Canvas. I apologize. But they'll come into Canvas. They'll be in a separate grouping under resources, and you'll have access to everything that you need. Also, when you look at each of the modules, I'm linking here either various assignments or resources like the corporate finance quick sheet or financial statements and ratios, perhaps, and corporate income tax calculator, things like this. So virtually everything you're going to need is here. And I can't stress that enough. I will talk you through everything. The discussions we have, all the material is repeated within elements of the module, but it's also all brought together in our conversations. Let's see if there's anything else I want to show you here. We won't be using Canvas discussions heavily in this. Grades are something that we'll look at the very end. I think that just looking at assignments and the home, which is the modules, is all we need to look at now. Maybe we should take a brief look or talk briefly about announcements. I've gone ahead and set Canvas up so that every assignment that is due, you receive an announcement with respect to it 3 or 4 days in advance. So if you've got a lot going on, you slipped your mind, you got too many things you're working on, it's going to come up and remind you. I'm going to have to go through over the next couple of days the timing of all of those just to make sure that I'm still able to meet those time frames, because I've set them up so that an announcement that's not scheduled to be released for 3 more weeks, I've already created the announcement and I've already put into Canvas when I want it released. So it's possible that if I don't get to all of them, don't get them all updated in time, it's possible you might get an announcement or 2 early. If you do, let me know so I can correct it. But the announcement will still be valid. It just might be to you a little bit earlier than it otherwise would have come. Some of you that know me well know that you're hearing a voice that's a little bit different than my normal voice. I've been dealing with a cold the last several days, and it's now into my chest and throat. I don't have the coronavirus. I'm not there, of course, but I apologize for my voice. Okay, is there anything else that you'd like us to look at before we begin to talk about some of the different elements for the course tonight? Okay, so as we talk about these, I'm first going to talk about things in the abstract. By that I mean I'll look at equations and equational forms using variables, not values. We'll then go and deal with including some numbers within those, so you can actually see how the algebra works out. For the most part, this is simple algebra. This is not hard. As difficult as we get is we're going to use some exponents and some roots, but not even that much of that, and fairly simple ones in those. We'll go ahead then also and we'll look at, excuse me, I just lost my train of thought, I apologize. We'll look at the problem sets as being where you use the equations on your own for the first time. And then in the practice homework, you'll use them again. And in the actual homeworks, which have points associated with them, you'll use them again. So by the time you get to a homework that requires you to come up with the right answers and that's going to affect your grade, you should have been exposed to all of the metrics that we'll deal with in a abstract form at least once or twice, maybe more like 4 or 5 times. You should have been exposed to actually motivating the equations with actual numbers at least several times, maybe as much as 6 or 8 times. That said, my guess is there's going to be a lot of questions still about how you use different equations, how you use different inputs, because we have an unfortunate truth to deal with when it comes to finance. How many of you realize that the rules of finance are all set in stone? Well, I can't see all of you, so I'm not sure exactly who realizes that and who doesn't. And if you think it is, then you're fooling yourself. The rules of finance are all set in stone, except for when they're not. And artistry and interpretation is what's going to separate you and the 6-figure income that you either do have or hope to have in finance, or the financial aspects of management, from an iPad being operated by a monkey. Because almost everything that we're going to do together, a monkey and an iPad can do, and can do it very well, except for they have a very hard time interpreting inputs and interpreting outcomes. And so as much as anything else, as we go through these abstract forms and then start applying numbers to them, you're going to see how to interpret inputs, how to interpret outcomes, and you're going to see when you use a certain type of input versus when you see another type of input, both of which may have the exact same variable label, but that might have been discerned 2 different ways. That will frustrate some of you. And when you're done being frustrated by it, it will make you a lot of money in the coming decades. And I hope that's okay with you. I know it's okay with Solomon. I'm pretty sure that making money is not going to bother you at all, right, Solomon? You can just nod your head, buddy. Okay.